The Public Safety Building Committee meeting for September 25th, 2017, 9 a.m., Town Hall on Main Street in Rowley. Meeting is being recorded digitally, both audio and visually, for later viewing on Rowley Community Television. With that, I'll call the meeting to order. And what, but between you and Neil, what outstanding issues we got? We got a committee, planning board on Wednesday night for two issues, really. We got the Gwyn land, which we're using for the ball fields, and the police station, fire station project.
I guess the two things I'd like to do today is we need to set the advertisement dates for the bid. And Neil and I can huddle on that, and we can just,
Yeah, okay.
right now, we're dating all of our documents the 12th of October, which is a Thursday.
Okay.
So that's,
So you're assuming you're planning and trying to go out to bid on the 12th?
that would be the official date.
And what would be, how do the dates work after that in terms of returns?
Usually for
Three.
the subs,
3 weeks for the subs, and then another week for the generals.
2 for the generals, depending.
Okay, so that would be November 2nd.
So the middle of, by the middle of November, we should know.
Sub bids
All the bids will be in, right?
and November 9th. General.
I would, if we're gonna push it 2 weeks for the generals, I'd make it 4 for the subs and 1 for the generals.
What I'm trying to work around is the November 11th holiday,
Oh, yeah, that's right, too, yeah.
because we'll get pushback from GCs that they don't wanna come back the day after a holiday and submit a bid.
Okay.
Okay, so
That's-
the holiday's on a Saturday. The town recognizes that Saturday holiday, and will be closed on the 10th, the Friday,
Okay,
for a Saturday holiday.
Yeah, most people will
I'll
close
push it
on
out to the following week, like the 14th or 15th, the midweek. Is that better?
It's
That way-
okay.
So the deadline,
That's for the general, right?
I think the general's November 15th.
The subs will be 2 weeks before, probably 2 weeks before that.
November 2nd, I
I w-
thought we said for the subs.
Okay. What I,
Is that all right?
it is, unless you wanna give the subs an extra week. What I'm thinking is,
What's the
The-
pros and
November ninth.
cons?
that well, first of all, at the end of the day, everybody does this at the last minute anyhow, so, as much time as you give them, they're still going to be in the parking lot
Right.
filling out their bids. If you're going to give the subs 3 weeks and then the generals 2 weeks after that, there's nothing that the subs are gonna give the generals that they need to know except transcribing the numbers that the subs give them. So, if you wanna give the subs,
So in other words, just a question, quick, to interrupt, but I am. In other words, the general works up their bid, and then they just add the sub bids, the lowest, what they want to that to make the total price.
correct,
Okay.
they have to select from
Yeah,
those bids that come in, the week.
Now, are they
or two
required
before.
to select the lowest bid, or they can do it any way they want?
They can do it any way they want. But they have to be the lowest bid. So if they take a sub that's higher than the other subs,
Yeah,
they have to know that the other general contractors are probably taking the low sub.
Yeah.
So within their own bid,
Yeah.
they've gotta make up that difference to be competitive.
so their final total bid has to be the lowest.
Right. So if they're gonna give someone, because they wanna work with somebody, it's gonna cost them an extra $5,000, say, they're going to have to trim their bid 5,000 to be competitive with everybody
Make it
else.
work,
So, but if you, and, I will defer to Neil on this, however you wanna do it. If you're going to do a 5-week period, you can either do 3 and 2 or 4 and 1. And what that does, all it does is gives the subs an extra week to prepare it. It doesn't change your end date, and it doesn't really impact the generals as far as what they have to do. They should have been preparing their bid all along anyhow. It just, because that last week, as far as the generals are concerned with the subs, all they need to do is take those numbers. And put them
Choose
on
and
the form.
transfer the figures.
But I don't, you know,
The only, my opinion, I think 3 weeks for a job of this size is enough for the subs to prepare their bids. As long as we can have the pre-bid before you guys go away.
okay.
And then the reason that I like to put 2 weeks between the filed subs and the GCs is if you have any anomalies in the sub bids, it gives us a little more time to deal with it and won't necessarily impact the GCs. And it gives us a little bit more time to absorb the bids and react as opposed to just reissuing them to the GCs.
Now, when the sub bids are submitted, they're submitted to us,
Yes,
we open them,
filed subs, yep.
so we know what the filed sub bids prices is, and then
And then
we-
they're
we-
issued by addendum to all bidding contractors.
they get all the ones by addendum.
Yep.
So when are we planning on having you're talking, that's out at the site, right? Having a-
Yes,
Right.
Now, we did talk about possibly having an addendum to extend this because we're in the middle of all the permitting in the month of October. We discussed that at the last meeting.
Right,
If that happens, we can do so. You know, if it appears that we need a little more time, that we can deal with that during bidding. That's simply that's just issuing a document, and that just pushes the bid date off.
and that would likely only affect, the GC bids. Probably won't
Right,
have a
'cause-
big effect.
'cause all these
Sub
permits are
trades.
That's true.
site related, right?
Most of them, yes.
There's no,
Is Wednesday night the only meeting that we have this week on the,
I think it's the only one this week. And we got
Okay,
following-
3 weeks in a row. Like this week is planning, next week is conscom, and the following week is ZBA, I think.
Following week is still planning board. We have 2 meetings with
Two.
planning board, and then, so, the 27th is, I mean, these aren't joint meetings, so we can't have a quorum. That's part of the problem, unless we post as a joint meeting. But Greg and Neil are coming on the 27th for a informal discussion on the site plan with the planning board. I don't have the time yet. We're supposed to be up early on the agenda. Following week, October 3rd, we have the Conservation Commission, and that's at 8:15. And then
15 is the,
is the police and fire. I know Joe will wanna go early, you might have to leave, because it's 7:45 and 8 o'clock, it's the school site plan. They got ahead of us,
that's the planning board also?
yeah, at Concom,
Oh, Concom,
the 3rd,
okay.
so,
And when's the follow-up for the planning board?
so the formal, hearing on the site plan is the 11th. I don't have time for that. And we're
Ninth?
hoping that the planning board's technical review agent will have completed his review for both the October 3rd Concom meeting and the October 11th planning board meeting. Don't expect a decision from the Concom on the 3rd, according to Brent, our agent.
19th is when we go to the
The
ZBA,
19th
right?
is the ZBA. And then the Concom should be voting on if everything goes according to plan, on the 24th, on the stormwater permit.
Okay. So what you're saying, Greg, is if we run into an issue with one of those boards that wants a change, then we should be able to, you can extend the bidding date if it's enough to require that.
Yeah, and I think that, and as we had talked about, it will depend on, I'm expecting we'll get a pretty good handle on what those potential changes might be. And if it's, if it's procedural or minor in nature, then it needn't affect the bidding at all. It's something that could be added, you know.
Yeah, the only one I'm thinking would be, if anything, with stormwater, because it's so complicated. And yet, you know, everybody's looked at it and re-looked at it, and You know, I don't think it'll be a problem, but, because the ZBA is a 50-foot setback, which I don't see that being a problem. I wouldn't think it would be. We're in a rural area there that,
And that became a special permit as opposed to a variance.
Right.
Do we know whether planning board will issue a decision on the project without feedback from CONSCOM? Sometimes one goes before the other. Usually planning board is last, or at least it's been my experience that planning board is last. Just trying to figure out if there's gonna be a late
It all depends
October or
on,
November planning board decision.
it all depends on the technical review agent. He works on both permits for both boards, and he has a backlog. So I know that the planner was transmitting, the site plan over. I think he did it last week. If not, it's gonna go this week. The informal discussion on Wednesday night will help the planning board, understand, but I'm not sure, I just know that everything is hinging upon the technical review engineer,
what is, just
his
to,
report.
if we know, what is the plan, other than, I'm not sure that it's like someone builds a house, they go before the planning board for a single lot, the planning board basically rubber stamps it on. Are we not expecting that the planning board basically will, I mean, what are they,
They're looking at traffic, they're looking at how you get into the site and out of the site and things like that. That's, as I understand. You may wanna just pop over and see Kirk Baker.
okay, well, I mean, there's not a lot of changes, the police station's been there for 30 years, so traffic shouldn't be a problem. We might add, if there's a fire, yeah, you're gonna add 10 cars coming to the fire station maybe. The park entrance is basically staying the same. The police station, we're moving the entrance from one side of the building to the other, which will handle both. I mean, I'm just looking at,
Well, that's what they're gonna be looking at,
but I mean,
traffic
there's no,
and
I mean,
other-
I don't see any major changes going on in this area to hold up the project, is what I guess what I'm saying is. You know, it's not like we're putting a brand-new driveway in, where there's nothing exists, or it's a straightaway, plenty of view, we're not adding much of any traffic to the site, because it's a public safety building, it's not a shopping center or a doctor's office or something. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud, that, hoping that, we're not gonna run into some minor thing that'll hold it all up, I mean,
Well, it's a use that's permitted in all districts.
Yeah.
It's a municipal use,
so I
so
mean,
that's the big thing.
yeah, I hope it's not a
It's
problem, let's put it
More,
that
I
way.
think, some of the details on it.
But the best laid
Safety.
plans of mice and men can be set aside. All right, so we're pretty well set on that. Neil, have you got anything that,
So the central register ad will have to be placed by the 4th, so it will appear on the 11th for plans available on the 12th. So that will also be Compass.
So, when we met last, at our last meeting, you said that you would handle central register
Yep.
and, we
We-
can do the we have an account of Compass, actually Natalie
Okay.
is our point of contact of Compass, so
Okay,
if you email me and I can get
Yep.
it to her, anyway.
so we'll get the advertisement from Greg, and that
Yeah.
will serve as both the public ad and any of the information that's needed for Compass or central register.
Mhm.
And then, in terms of placing the local ad, is that something you wanna do? Do you want me to do it? We can do it
So-
anyway.
It's up to you. We usually run in a newspaper of general circulation, it would be the Newburyport Daily News. So, if I have it, we can send it off. And that only has to be run once, I believe, not less than 2 weeks before the date, so if we get it in next week even, or if you want it to appear the same day as the central register, we can do that.
So, like I said, as soon as we get the, advertisement for bids, we'll send it out, and we'll take care of the register. You guys will do Compass, and I'll have Joanne in my office contact the Newburyport Daily News
Okay, so you'll do the Daily News?
Yep.
Okay.
and the central register.
We will get prevailing wage rates.
Yeah,
We can get
Yeah.
those.
you wanna get 'em?
Yeah.
Okay,
So when we open the bids, are we doing that during a public safety building committee meeting, or are we gonna do it during, like, have it done during a selectmen's meeting, or should I
No,
do it as
we don't
chief
usually-
procurement officer?
We don't usually open them during a public meeting.
Yeah,
We'll open them usually at 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
or 1 o'clock, or 10 o'clock, or whenever you guys wanna do it. And then we would probably present them at a meeting, once they're
Okay.
all,
so are they coming here, or are they going to one of,
usually they come here.
okay.
Is there a
I just
small
wanna make
assembly
sure.
area?
We usually do our public bid openings here, I do it,
Okay.
so that's in the
I would
advertisement,
expect
so we can
you-
do it upstairs
you
if we
might
have to.
see 40 to 50 people milling around with
Do it in the
bids
hall,
from
yeah.
various sub-trades. So if you have a room
I do,
bigger,
Yeah.
Yeah, we got an auditorium upstairs.
might be better.
Okay.
okay, so when are we, cause
We don't
I,
have any heat, but we
Say
got-
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
we got our own.
so is it are you guys gonna be there, or should it just plan on being me
Oh,
and
no,
Natalie?
we'll be there.
Okay, so when are we thinking about doing that? Is it's not gonna be a committee meeting?
No, no.
Yeah,
No. It'll be 2 o'clock on the sub bids will be the second, which is, what date is that? That's
November 2nd.
That's
It's
a-
a Thursday,
Okay, so we'll just make them 2 o'clock both days. And that room number is, well, they'll be
it's-
delivered here.
Yep.
So it's the selectman's
just
office.
say, that they're delivered here and that they will be opened at the town hall.
town hall.
Just say town hall is the best thing to say. We have a handicap
That's
accessible.
November 2nd.
We'll probably come in an hour beforehand,
Mhm.
and we'll start collecting the bids. We'll separate them all by sub-trade,
Okay,
and then we'll just go right through Division 4 all the way through Division 16, and probably
Mm-hmm.
open them just in order.
okay.
Stinks for the electricians, but
I know.
We'll just do it the old fashioned way.
that's how we do it.
Then the generals, it'll be 2 PM on the 15th, is that what you're saying?
You can do that Wednesday or keep it Thursday or
We keep them
No
both?
difference.
keep them both on Thursday.
Second, the
and
16th.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thursday's a good day.
Okay.
In the afternoon gives them a chance to get up here, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, that's fine. It gives the contractors time when they run into the last 2 minutes before the, we've had a few bids lately when they come in 10 minutes late. You know, but like you say, they all wait till the last second.
It's really hilarious.
All it takes is a traffic jam somewhere, or a
Red light.
red light, or,
Been
you
there
know,
myself.
some slow
Yep.
driver on the back road.
Then they're done that.
Trouble.
Yeah.
All right,
Good.
what else do we need?
Pre-con, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to do it before we leave. We leave on the 17th, so that leaves Monday. And I'm not sure,
So you leave on the 16th, you said, or 17th,
17th.
and you're back.
20
Yeah, because I think at the
or the
meeting,
26th.
Greg, you said you were gonna be back in the office on the 26th. You said at our last meeting.
So that really kills both of those weeks.
Well, wait, you know,
So if the notice goes out on the 11th, I mean, gives people some time, but if you don't pick it up, I know when we go out to bid, we didn't see it, we just saw this,
Yeah.
the ad, and
when-
we've already had our,
Want to do it Friday, the 27th? Give you a day to get back on your feet.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
can't lay it much
Yeah,
beyond
that's
that,
good.
right?
yeah, no, that'd be fine, that'd be
And then
fine.
That's really a week before.
I mean, they can always go
Actually-
out and look at it, most of it anyway. I
Yeah.
mean, the only questions they're gonna have really is within the police station.
Right.
Okay.
Is it October 27th?
Friday, October 27th, pre-construction meeting. We said we would post that as a,
Mm-hmm.
What time?
Should we
What
wait for
time
the
are we-
chief? Make sure that's a good day for him. Right, it's basically gonna be his building.
I'll make it.
I meant the police chief.
Yeah, I have no way of telling, but it's gonna have to be that day anyway. If the chief can't make it, he's gonna have to have the captain there, that's all. I mean, we can't, we're down to nuts and bolts, we can't, put it off.
There's never a good time to go away, is there?
Why don't you try to call
No.
him?
No,
It's like, no.
10 o'clock?
I mean, you can try and, I don't know where he is today, if you wanna try and give him
I'll see if Amy
a
can.
quick call, or Joe, if you got his number.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's, again, let's do it, I would make it the afternoon.
Yeah, I think, 1 or 2, say 1 o'clock, where it's a Friday, do it at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Gives everybody a chance to
The
get
guys are
there.
traveling a long way, give them time to go home afterwards, otherwise they're gonna.
Okay, and that's gonna be in the notice.
Yep.
So it is set in stone now, unless we.
Yeah, we'll do it
short
1
then.
PM, and if the chief
Okay.
can't make it,
Okay.
I'll have to have the captain there, that's all. I mean, just someone to let people in the police station and go do the tour through there, that whatever they think they need to see for.
Yeah, I'll make that contact. Chief.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about submittal exchange?
We can do that. Greg and I talked on Friday. Both of us have worked together, and on past projects we've worked together on. We use an online submittal and project document tracking system that's called Submittal Exchange. It creates a medium for electronic exchange and distribution of submittals, RFIs, schedules, any related project documents, O&M manuals, drawings, specs, everything can be uploaded to this website, and then with an internet connection, you have access to every piece of project documentation that is generated by the project. The cost of the system is roughly $7,000. We've found that it will save more time and more money for the project to offset it. They'll carry, in the old days, it was FedEx charges or whatever else to overnight submittals and whatnot. That's now handled completely electronically, and eliminates that cost.
To expand on that a little bit, the shop drawing process, among other things, but shop drawings in particular, is a very large component of construction, which virtually every component of the building gets submitted by the contractor for approval, whether it's masonry or wood or paint or doorknobs or everything, and, in tremendous detail. And that all has to be reviewed and approved by our office. Historically, you would ask for 5 copies of everything. Comes into the office, we review it all, stamp it approved, make corrections, stamp it approved. And then we keep a copy, send a copy to Neil, send copies back to the contractor, then he sends copies to his subcontractors. The amount of paper is staggering. With this project, with this process, it's all electronic. You look at it on the computer, press a button, everybody's got it. You know when it came in, when it went out, it expedites things tremendously. And then at the end of the day, you have an electronic record of everything without a piece of paper involved.
You'll get a CD or a flash drive at the end of the project from us. That'll be every piece of documentation that was uploaded to the system. So it gives you a good electronic history of the project as well.
We have included a specification requirement in the documents for the contractor to provide this service. So it would be part of the bid. The thing that Neil and I were talking about last week is whether or not we want to have the contractor carry it in his bid, or whether the town wants to purchase it independently and not put it in the documents. There are pros and cons to both. I don't think it really matters that much. It's just Neil raised the concern that if for some reason the contractor, there was some kind of dispute or issue with the contractor, and they decided to somehow deny everybody access to, because there was a dispute with the town, deny everybody access to these documents, there might be an issue. I haven't spoken with Submittal Exchange, Neil, I don't know if you have.
I did. I spoke with them late Friday. The the agreement that you enter into with submittal exchange, you become the owner of the documents. So if the contractor engages that agreement and pays the fee, in a dispute, submittal exchange is going to default to the agreement that they signed, which would be with the contractor. Conversely, if they did it with us, it's probably much less likely that we're gonna wind up in a dispute with the town or Greg or whatever. So while we would recommend that either we provide it or Greg provides it, it certainly wouldn't preclude it from leaving it the way it is in the spec and having the contractor provide it. So it's really at your,
I don't know how you feel, Joe and Debbie, I'm a little leery about letting the contractor.
Yeah, I'd feel much
I
more
mean,
comfortable.
I've seen different,
I mean,
I see different projects around where you're getting into dispute with a contractor over one thing or another, and not that they would necessarily hold that stuff
right,
back,
and,
but
and we haven't
if we're going through this for,
gotten
it's gonna
there.
cost one way or the other.
You know, we'd like to think that between Greg and myself, we can keep everything professional and keep it above table for the duration of the project, but in the event that, you know, maybe it's a financial problem with the
So
contractor.
so if we do this,
Just never know.
one of you would do it,
Yep,
and it would be a separate bill.
yeah,
Yeah, it'll
I
be
mean,
add-on.
we'll just pass it through, we're not gonna
Right.
take a markup or anything on it, or at least that would be
Right, okay.
our position, so.
That's fine. You know, I think there's another advantage as well, that just occurred to me. We had talked about this. Apparently selecting this kind of a plan service, doesn't come under the requirement of or equal, or having to pick three, because there are other people that do this besides submittal exchange. But from what I understand from Neil, with the AG, that for this particular kind of thing, you don't need three different suppliers. That having been said, if you put it in the documents and the contractor says, well, we found another service that's cheaper that we'd like to use, now you're gonna get into a dispute. And it's gonna be at least an argument and perhaps a hearing with the AG, or a letter or something. You know, if Neil is handling it, that goes away. You just own it, and you don't even have to deal with it. So that may
It's
increase it a little bit.
$7,000,
Yeah. Yep.
so it's under
Joe?
10.
Yes,
Right.
I think that's a good
Is that
idea.
okay with you, Debbie?
I'll make a motion. You wanna,
Yeah, I'll take a motion just to confirm it. Joe
I'll
made the
make that
motion, second. Here a second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Very good, yeah, I think I'd rather keep as much in close as we can, it just,
Yeah, the other advantage, the other inherent advantage is as soon as the bid documents come out, or any of the addendum are incorporated into the documents and everything is conformed, we can then set it up while we're exchanging the information with the contractor for bonds and insurance, and it's up and running on really day zero when you sign the NTP, so.
so that means we're not gonna have any piles of plans sitting on our table.
You'll have
Well-
plans. You'll have. No, you'll
There's
have-
always
no.
paper.
You'll be swimming. It'll look like Debbie's desk. I'm sorry. No, you'll have plenty of paper, and you'll have hard copies of the drawings and
Okay.
specs
I mean, it
anyhow,
doesn't-
because doing that electronically gets unwieldy. Just to follow things on a computer screen.
Right, oh, yeah, no, I'm sure.
To turn pages. So, but it's the miscellaneous paperwork. You know,
Okay.
requests for information, change order backup. ASI's, architects, special instruction.
Instructions or whatever.
So you're issuing sketches and
Right.
directions
Okay.
in the field and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
All right, no, that's fine, I was just curious, that's all.
The only other thing, Greg, we had talked about was plan distribution. And I'm not quite sure where you guys lie on that yet, so I'll throw that back to you. And
Wanted to see a chance to
I
sing 'em.
know.
There are basically two options, and one is to engage a plan service to just distribute and manage the distribution of documents. Alternatively, we have done it directly out of our office. I don't, can we let you know, unless you care?
We didn't, at the last meeting, you said we weren't gonna do it out of our office, I just,
Oh, out of our office.
or out of our office.
Oh, no, it's not gonna be,
Well,
it's not gonna
No,
be out of
you
you
wouldn't
guys.
control
But
it.
you're gonna be away, so.
The only concern I have, and I've said this to Greg a couple of times over the last 2 weeks, is with him away and the distribution of documents, there is a potential, if he's gone for 10 days or 9 days in the middle of that process, there's a potential that something could go wrong and they couldn't get plans out and we'd have to push the bids.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
is that the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world, but if it goes to a third party, most likely that could be avoided. That's all.
Okay, let's,
I
we'll,
think he'll sleep better in Germany too,
Yeah.
personally, but
Yeah, that's been my concern. I mean, I know we like to have control as, it's just an odd thing because we've always done it. We like to know who's coming in, who's bidding on this and making sure everybody gets it and whatnot, but other people use the service with no trouble.
what, okay, I'll tell you what, this is what we can do. We'll engage a plan service, I'll talk to you about who and
Okay.
what, whether it's Neshoba Blue or whoever else, we can find someone to do that. And they'll go out electronically anyway these days, it's not, nobody's issuing hard copies. What I would like to do is continue our process for addenda. And what we do with addenda is rather than distribute it, and we try to distribute it to everybody by email if we can, but normally, and we can have the plan service do it, but in addition, we like to have our addenda posted on our own website. And basically, that just allows us to go directly, if we have an addendum, it could be a last minute thing where we want to make sure that everybody, knows about a particular little item. We can post it, that day, and it goes out to everybody, everybody has it. It can expedite stuff. So, and in our documents, we call for it. There's another kind of other reason for it, is that we've been doing it that way for years, and contractors that bid our projects, one time we didn't do it, and the phone was ringing off the hook. Where's the addenda? We checked your website, it's not there. So people are used to it. So I'd like to continue that, maybe in addition to,
Yeah, both. I would do both.
I would just say to do both.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree with that.
for the last minute addendum, if we had to push the bid 24 or 48 hours or whatever, I don't think that's a big deal.
yeah,
If the plans are gonna be available through a third party, I think for consistency's sake, we have to make the addendum available as well. Whether you post it on your website or not, I think is a matter of convenience, really,
Yeah, which
more
I
so
would-
for
we
the
would
bidders
do,
than
yeah.
anything else. But I think it needs to follow the protocol and go through the third party as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
okay.
But we'll just do it both, just
Yep.
because we had that situation one
Sure.
time, and they were being sent out, and they weren't looking for that.
Now, can we have a link off our purchasing page on our
Oh,
website
sure.
to the company, whether it's
Sure.
Neshoba or
Yep.
your,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
That'd be nice.
because we do put all our bids on our website.
Yeah, so people are looking on your
Yeah.
website for your bids.
But
yeah.
if we can link off to wherever the things are gonna be. What, how about, the questions, and are we gonna have a deadline for questions, that come in,
It
and
should
all
be, it should be laid
answers are
out,
gonna be issued?
should be laid out in the instructions for bidders.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we allow questions up to 48 hours. from-
Well, no, we have to have our answers posted
Right.
48
48
hours
hours.
before, so.
I would say if we're having the walkthrough on the 27th, maybe we want to say, maybe no later than the 1st, all questions are submitted.
Uh,
Oh, that's for the subs
That's
though.
that,
Oh, we don't want to do that.
because we'd have to have it by the 1st, by 2 PM posted.
Right.
So it'd be the 31st?
you'd have to have it at least the 31st if the bids are due on
Right.
the 2nd of November.
Oh, you're looking at the 3rd, I'm sorry, yeah, it'd be the
Let's make it,
30th.
let's do it the 31st. That'll give you guys a day
well,
to
that's,
read.
that's the subs, right?
Right,
Just the
well,
subs.
just
Well,
in
if the
general.
subs are due November 2nd, so we would have to
Right.
have it posted
Well, you could,
48 hours before, so that,
mm,
So that would be the 31st by 2. Right, aren't we the second for the,
Right.
Yeah, November 2nd at 2:00.
so if we're November 2nd, 2:00, so it's 48 hours, so it would be the 31st by
That's-
2.
Or the 30th.
So maybe the 30th,
Okay.
and, you know, sometimes people call in the morning, and if I can get it answered, it's
Right.
reasonable, I do that, you know.
I'd give the GCs until November 7th. I mean, you know, they're gonna have these documents for another 2 weeks.
Right.
You know, it wouldn't be, and we have to issue the sub-bid stuff anyhow, so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Let's give them as much time as they need. So the GCs make it
So the deadline is the 16th for general. So November 7th?
well, I'm
Or
just
the
giving,
The 13th or something?
I give them until then? I guess it depends on the question, too.
Right.
Well, if it's a big ask, well,
I mean, my concern is they're gonna give,
difficult question.
they're gonna throw one at you 48 hours before, that's gonna take you
Yeah.
longer than 1 day to respond,
That's true,
Well, then you have to,
right?
Right,
So I'm trying to prevent that.
okay, so then
I would-
maybe, yeah.
Keep in mind, the GCs are gonna have the documents on the 12th. So they'll
Right,
have 3
yeah.
or 4 weeks to ask questions,
So, yeah, so maybe it's the week before on the
okay,
the
November
9th.
7th?
right?
Yeah,
So November 9th, general contract, questions.
November 9th? Okay.
And the subs, Meg, you said October 30th at what time?
October 30th by 2 PM. At least that will give us till the following.
Yeah, let's not put a time in for that.
Okay,
My
that-
only concern is they're
end of
gonna
day.
get confused. It's a
Okay.
bid, it's a
Okay.
sub-bid.
Oh,
date.
yeah, so we'll just do October 30th, and then sometimes the questions can't,
I usually
just
put
can't
in by
answer.
4:00 or something.
Okay.
End
Oh,
of business,
and-
End of
a
business.
non-specific
civic
time.
time, okay,
Yeah.
end of business.
End of business.
Otherwise, it'll be, someone will misread it and we'll wind up with bids here on the 30th.
Oh, yes, that's.
By 2:00.
That's the
you
last
know?
thing you want.
If they do that, we don't want them anyway.
Maybe we do.
Well, maybe we do.
And then are we gonna say in the bid documents that we're currently in the permitting process and that the permits will be issued and sent to them? No? Because we have to give them, we're gonna have orders of conditions
Right.
on all of these.
I would suggest that we
They have
not,
to be sent to them.
not identify them, and we'll send them out by addendum
Okay.
the last week of October, presumably. And
'Cause I
they'll
think
have them,
that's-
then they'll have them 2 weeks before the bids.
What we will do is we will have them, we'll require that they comply with orders of conditions. Whether or not we provide them, we can have that argument later.
I
But
just think it's gonna be a subject for questions, like, can I get a copy of the stormwater design
Sure.
on, the site plan is really what I'm
Right.
thinking about. And we're gonna have to answer all these questions and,
Right.
and issue almost like an addendum
Yep,
to all the bidders saying this is currently in process. So I was just thinking of putting a reference that it was currently underway or something, so we don't have all this plethora of questions on the same thing. Because the stormwater is, they're gonna wanna make sure under the law that that's gonna be constructed with a permit, because the contractors are required to comply with the stormwater permit. That's why I was thinking it should be in there. I leave it up to you guys. Same with the septic too. We don't have a septic permit yet.
Do we have we don't have a meeting per se with the Board of Health, do we? Or
No,
we
they
do?
didn't receive, no, but the health agent can review that, unless there's
Okay.
some variance required, it doesn't have to go to the Board of Health, it's
Right.
processed in the office,
Okay.
but, they don't have that yet, they don't have the application, the permit for the septic.
Okay, did we get an answer to that last?
Yeah, I think so.
You're gonna do an addendum if there's any,
We'll have to issue the orders of conditions or any special
Right,
instructions that come out from the permit review towards the end of the month,
okay.
once we get them from the boards.
And we can put some language in there that, regarding where that the order of conditions will be forthcoming by.
Right, okay, just so people know that, like Debbie says, that we start getting questions about, well, what about this, that, and the other thing?
Oh,
They'll
actually,
ask the questions anyway.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
No, they could be calling the Concom agent up, but I don't want, I just have to think of the department heads here. I don't want them receiving it and trying to answer things that they shouldn't be answering.
yeah, and actually, that raises another issue. Questions, I mean, you'll have a set of drawings here, people will, in all likelihood will be stopping it, or maybe even stopping at the police station. They need to refer all the questions to us.
Right.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, any, the Concom or any of those should be referring,
Mm-hmm.
but they shouldn't be answering them, they should be referred.
And in the process that's outlined in the bid documents,
Right,
which
should
hopefully
identify
they
that.
know that they
Right.
should do that.
Just so that we can track it.
Oh, absolutely, no, we can't have, because if there's a question answered and everybody doesn't get the answer,
Would you guys take the questions by email?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why it's uniform and the responses are issued to all the bidders
By addendum.
that are listed on file by an
Yep.
all right. Anything else,
We go.
chief?
No.
Joe, you got anything?
No.
Debbie? All right, so when do we wanna have another meeting, or is it, at this point, is another meeting just gonna be looking at each other and keeping our fingers crossed that everything is going well, or what do you think? Sounds like we're pretty well,
Well, we're gonna be here on the
Nailed everything down.
27th.
We have the 27th at 1 o'clock, and we'll post that for 477 Haverhill Street.
okay, yeah, that's at the police station, right?
What's that?
All right, yeah, why don't we do that then? Why don't we'll post that as the next meeting, 'cause everybody's gonna be there.
Which one is this?
The pre-bid walkthrough
27th
on the
at-
The bid
27th.
walkthrough.
27th at 1 o'clock.
That's October, do we think we need anything before, well, that's a month, what do we do? I mean, I don't see much
Oh.
of a need for 2 weeks from now to have a meeting unless, if something comes up,
You know, I was gonna say,
we can
the
always
only,
call a
the only thing
meeting.
that I was thinking about is if anything comes up at either Conscom or Planning Board, the 3rd or the 11th, maybe we wanna meet ahead of that, but rather than,
No, why don't we leave it, we'll see, we'll get a lay of the land from them.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm not anticipating anything huge, right? You just can't, you can't say for sure. So if something comes out of those, then we can schedule another meeting to address whatever those issues might be, if there's a need to do that.
Okay.
That sound all right, Debbie?
Yeah,
You're
possibly.
the one that keeps track of
Yeah,
all
in-
these things for us.
so with Greg being away, he wouldn't be here on the 23rd, and he's getting ready for his trip on the 16th, so if there is some major site work, we could have a meeting and maybe ask Bill Murray to come if there's.
Yeah, actually, for all of this site stuff, for all this permitting thing, I do the color maybe, but it's Bill's,
Bill
it's
does all
Bill's,
the-
it's Bill's show, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
he's coming on the 27th, right?
yeah. Yeah, he's as he says, he's the dirt guy, so that's.
That's good. Keep shoveling if we can. All right, so does it sound like that's a plan, and nobody has anything else that they want to put on the table at this point?
I think we're good.
All right. It seemed like on the surface anyway, it's been a good process, so worked out well to this point, so let's just keep our fingers crossed that everything
Right.
keeps on going smoothly and there's nobody tosses any ink on the floor to get us upset.
Well, it's been a great experience for us so far, I mean,
Yeah, oh,
you guys have been really right on top of this, so.
It's been interesting, and that the both, I know the police chief isn't here this morning, but both chiefs have done a great job, and I know they both put a lot of work into working with you, Greg, and putting together the building plans and coming up with solutions and all these things, so it's really been, and Debbie's done, I mean, the amount of work she puts in. Joe and I sit here and look important, but from our perspective, Debbie's the one that does 99.9% of the work, and as usual, she's come up with an A-plus rating in terms of what she does, so I think at this point, we're all good. And
Just a couple more things. No proprietary. We were talking about that exhaust system for the chief's fire. Do we need a selectmen's meeting for that?
You'll,
The plume, what is it called?
Plimo vent.
Plimo vent.
that's what I said to Debbie, does it, she's.
You're
She's the one that-
embarrassing me, so
No,
stop.
no, she's the one that pulls the stuff out, which we don't want it to hit us later.
I have meetings every Monday, except for Columbus Day, so we have lots of opportunities if you need us to vote on that.
well, let me talk with you about that after the meeting.
Okay.
The Plym event and the whole thing is surrounding source capture exhaust is a challenge when it comes to procurement. And, it gets pretty complicated. We don't have to type the meeting with that right now.
All right,
And,
anything else, Debbie?
minutes, and we just will probably still wanna keep the police chief on target, to think about being out of, really working to, disassemble the modular building that he has and getting that shipped out during the month of November, so he's
Ready to go.
he's right in the police station, everything's in there, and he's for December, right?
When we talked last time, we were talking about possibly having, put off construction start dates.
Oh, yeah, give the, oh, geez, yeah.
Because that's critical for the chief. In other words, if we're gonna not start till later, then he doesn't have to move out of his building.
A deferred construction start,
Right.
give the contractor the option of starting.
Yeah, really, where it's gonna, because in other words, if, assuming that the bids, the general bids are open on the 16th, based on, the experience of you guys, when would we be, forgetting about the weather, how long would it take for ground to be broken for?
Like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
by the time contracts are signed and everything's
Contracts, bonds, trailers, and
mid-
everything else is mobilized to the site.
So what we're saying is if the contractor decides that he'd rather wait until March or whenever, by then we maybe have an idea what the winter weather's gonna begin to look like anyway. Of course, you can't predict it for sure, but.
So we can include that as an option in the document, so they
Okay.
can start, what do you want to say, March 1st, or?
But that would be important for the chief, in other words, if he's
Yeah.
not gonna move out of his building
Well,
until.
he already needs to be planning on that in October. I just look at if the
Yeah,
bids are
that's true,
due on
too.
the 16th, and then you don't award you award the contract when,
Bronx is burning.
a couple of, you have to
Who's
go.
burning?
Oh, another call.
So when would we have the signed contract if the bids are due on the 16th? And we don't push out the bid deadline for any particular
Well,
reason?
Just maybe 2 weeks.
yeah, the contract is in the document, so all they have to really do is sign, they have to get their bonds.
That's all that, I know,
Right.
So it's maybe as short as a week, as much as 2, if it,
okay, so say the selectmen sign the contract on the 4th
okay?
of December.
Okay.
Well, if you
will know then on
if
the
we
fourth.
get the bid opening on the 16th for the general, now, do you have to take time to go through that and make sure that they conform with all and how long might that
It's
take
a-
on a project this
it's-
size?
The review of the bid form is relatively quick, depending on the contractor. The review of the DCAM file could be more. But each one is only probably a day or a 2-day
Okay,
process.
so in other words, if we do Thursday, the bids come in Thursday, the 16th, then you're probably looking at the selectmen's meeting 2 weeks plus a couple of days after that to actually award the bid. That would be,
You're probably required to have a vote of the selectmen to award, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
right. We have to do, any public notice of that or anything with a project like this? It's strictly an agenda item that is on the,
You award it and then you vote to sign the contract.
Right.
When it comes back and everything's in order. All the insurance and bonds are in, then the selectmen sign. What I'm saying is if you have an option to have a
no, I
late
understand,
start,
yeah.
and they exercise their, say, well, we're ready to go in, we wanna get paid, we wanna work now, prices are changing, they wanna take advantage of maybe some lower costs in the winter for construction.
Yep.
The chief is, what is he doing? I mean, he has
Yeah,
to
no,
get
he's
out of the
fine.
building.
Yeah, it's complicated. All right, why don't we just not put that in there then?
Not,
Not put a deferred date in there.
just, he starts when he
That's-
starts.
November is, early December, I mean, especially this year, we haven't even had a frost yet. I mean, we haven't even come close to having a frost yet. We're heading into October. I can remember in years, when I first moved to town, by the middle of September, my garden was frosted out.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, the weather changes, whether people like to admit it or not, the weather has definitely changed.
Okay.
And, the winter seems to hang longer into the summer, into the spring, so. All right, why don't we just make it, that's
Okay.
the date, and
So
that
there's
way the
no-
chief knows exactly. And
Yeah.
actually, there should be a lot of things a contractor can do anyway. I mean, the site work and stuff like that they can start
We're-
right away. I would think the ground's not gonna be frozen or anything like that, so.
We're giving him a year to do it, 265 days. 365.
Man.
For the whole
Oh,
project.
your years of.
So I want, wait a minute, I wanna make the years as long as possible, Stace, not any
Exactly, you
shorter.
should cut off.
So in other words, we're anticipating by January 1st, give or take, that the project will be complete of 2019. That's not bad. Keep our fingers crossed.
The only thing that won't be done, and we'll get into this discussion then, is that he's still gonna have landscaping and grass and
Right,
stuff
yeah,
that has
yeah,
to go in,
paving
but
and
it's
stuff like
January,
that.
so it's not,
Yeah,
it's not gonna
And
happen.
I'm sure the final pavements and stuff like that may not be done because of you might have to put the winter up with a base coat of pavement, for instance, and then the final coating, but it should be in the buildings at least. The buildings will be operational by
Oh, yeah, you'll have substantial completion.
January of 2019 if all goes according to our plans.
19's gonna be a busy year.
I guess so. Get the school thing going. Joe's got the school thing going, so.
They tell me I have a year and a half after that finishes.
All right.
The alternates, we were just the lighting system and the radiant floor for the fire station. We just need to know,
and the
Oh, that's-
covered parking.
the portico for the police station.
What's the order that we want to put those? What do you recommend, Neil? From your experience?
I think all three of them are wants more than needs. If anything, maybe the lightning protection would serve the most necessity, I guess, for lack of a better word,
Okay.
or the highest necessity. I wouldn't want to tell the chief that he couldn't live without apparatus bays, and I wouldn't want to get between the two of them and let them argue out whether it's covered parking or heating in the apparatus bays. So I think at that
Well,
point.
heating involves, in the floor versus above
Air.
air in the ceiling?
Correct.
Is there a cost difference?
Yes.
Yes, in the end, Hamilton was supposed to have heated floors, and it was cut out, and they have modines, and the apparatus bay, in the wintertime, they're running constantly, and they never catch up. And once you open up the doors,
Yeah, the
whatever you
radiant
gained,
heating.
it just, radiant stays pretty common and quick buildup, makes the area down below comfortable and warm versus up in the higher, which is what will end up happening. Then we gotta put ceiling fans in to try to keep the fan, heat down. So the end cost will be more utility.
And how much is that? Radiant?
If memory serves, it was around $70,000 or $80,000.
And the
The li-
lighting system was
is-
30?
Is about 80, 75.
They're all about the same.
We're all about the same price, including the carport, actually.
Right. Carport might have been 90.
I'm almost leaning towards the fire floor.
definitely.
rather than I think the fire floor serves a very real purpose if the chief is correct in what he's telling us. So
Right. You can take a ride over to Byfield Fire Station, they have it in there, and then go down to Hamilton.
Okay, no, I'll take your word
Well,
for it.
There's,
No, we'll take your word for it, and I think that's more, I mean, we discussed we had a lengthy discussion on the fire, on the lightning system, and it's a nice thing to have. And the other thing is, if we decide we've done without a portico for the police all this time, in the back, or whatever you wanna call it a portico, we can always, at some point, if we really deem it, go for an appropriation to build that, add that on separately at a future time when we do our capital budget request, so. So I would say, if nobody has any objection, let's put the floor heat, radiant heat first.
Okay.
I don't know, I would almost put the police portico second. I mean, the lightning, I'm not convinced that, and I'll leave it to you guys, I'm just a, if you think it's Greg, it's more important to have the lightning, and then, I'm looking at it from a utilitarian.
it's,
I mean, all it takes is one strike.
all it takes is one strike, and, that's,
All right, why
how,
don't we do this, why don't we do that second, and we'll do the portico. The portico we can always add, we've done without it up to 30 years where it is, in fact, 400 years as far as
so,
the town goes, so.
Radiant floor, lightning protection, covered parking.
Right.
Right.
Got them backwards.
I know, I've got it all screwed up here. Lighting protection is number 2, carport is number 3,
Three.
radiant floor is number 1, okay. Okay.
All right, minutes, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes for,
I'll make that motion.
here a second.
Second.
Oh yeah, Joe was absent. And any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Joe's abstaining. Okay, very good, thank you. All right, so there's nothing, nobody has anything else. We'll meet on the 24th.
27th at
I'm
1
sorry.
o'clock,
27th at 1 o'clock.
unless there's a need to have a meeting after the outcome of any of the
Wait a minute,
permitting
it's
boards.
the 27th is the site
Up.
visit?
October 27th, Friday, October 27th, 1 o'clock, 477 Maple Street.
1 o'clock at Able Street.
Yep.
Everybody agreed? You're gonna talk to the chief anyway, right?
Yep.
Okay, guys.
Debbie will send out emails anyway, so, okay. Very good, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Nice to see
Thank
you
you.
again.